Hey friends, my name is Kareem.
Hi, it's Emily again. Today I want to talk about social norms and what I call the playground rules. Those kind of break up into two different sections. So as the weather warms up here, we're taking many more trips to the playgrounds near our house. And I love to watch my kids interacting with other kids their age, since they aren't in school yet, so they don't have a lot of those opportunities. The playground and other kid-centric spaces are a culture unto their own, but they can also pose challenges for parents and kids, especially autistic kids. So first I want to talk about the challenges that all parents and kids at the playground have. And that includes staying safe, leaving the playground without challenging behavior. Basic rules to go over with your kids before you even get to the playground include staying where a parent can see you, only using the playground equipment the right way, so no going up the slides, and knowing that when a parent says it's time to leave, you have to follow directions. I try to keep my rules for specific places simple and repeatable for my kids. We go over them before we leave, and again before we get out of the car. If my kids need reminders at the playground, they know the language I'm going to use, because it's been repeated multiple times. For the most part, my kids have the rules memorized. They don't always follow them, but they know the expectations. What can be more challenging for autistic kids in particular is the social aspect of the playground. So once you get to the playground and there's a bunch of other kids there, then what? A big group of kids already engaged in a game can be super intimidating, especially for kids who might struggle in social situations. So it can help if your kids already know the basic rules of some playground games. It's beneficial to teach some games like tag or red light, green light, or hide and seek at home. That gives your kids a head start on joining a game. The social rules within the games can be harder to teach, as they're more dynamic based on the social group. I think some basics to cover with your kids include personal space, rule enforcement, and familiarity. So like I said, most of these are fluid as opposed to static rules. Depends on the age of the group, if all the other kids already knew each other. There's a lot of factors here. Some autistic people have a hard time gauging personal space. They may get too close to other people while they're playing or they're talking. So if you're playing tag, it's allowable to touch another person. But that might not be the case if you're playing a different game. This is a skill that can be practiced anywhere, and your clinical team can help come up with the best way to learn these nuanced social skills for your child in particular. Rule enforcement can be a big turnoff at the playground, and it is not just with autistic kids. But many of our autistic kids like to follow stated rules to a T, and they want everyone else to follow them as well. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but telling other kids that what they're doing at the playground is wrong, not a good way to make friends. So I always try to tell my kids that different families have different rules, but if someone could get hurt, to come tell a grown-up. And I think that basic rule is an easy one to follow. Then the grown-up can be the bad guy at the playground, and the kids are free to play. The other trait I've seen in autistic kids that can make other kids uncomfortable is that they might seem too familiar with kids they don't know very well. This is not as big of an issue with little kids, but as the kids get further into elementary school and into higher grades, their peers are no longer declaring each other best friends after knowing one another for 3 minutes or finding one common interest. The same applies to joining conversations or games with older kids. It's polite to ask first, and if the group says they want to play by themselves, to respect that. All these playground skills fall under the broader category of unspoken social rules, or rules of thumb. Many autistic adults and older students describe feeling the need to mimic peer behavior in order to avoid being excluded from groups. Wen Lawson calls this adaptive morphing in a 2020 article he wrote. This mimicking is not necessarily a bad thing. It can increase a person's ability to kind of read the room in a variety of situations. You and I probably do it intuitively. If you walk into a quiet room, you're more likely to stay quiet or carry on quiet conversation than start telling boisterous jokes. You may find yourself using different posture based on the people around you in an unfamiliar setting. Humans are social creatures, and we use each other to set benchmarks for behavior. What may not come as naturally to autistic people is knowing how much to mimic others. So most people's preteen and teenage years are spent doing some form of behavior mimicry. Neurotypical middle schoolers know that they don't have to wear the exact same outfit as their best friend, or use all the same mannerisms to fit in, but autistic middle schoolers may need to have their grown-up help them know how far is too far when copying peers. You may want a shirt that looks similar to your best friend's, but you don't necessarily want to wear the exact same thing every day. This will depend on your child's age and personality, but the skill of behavior mimicking is crucial to a lot of adult life as well. For example, you're more likely to be successful in a job interview if you change your language and behavior to match that of the interviewer. Not so you're not yourself, but in the same way you wouldn't speak to your grandfather the way you speak to your best friend. Lawson tempers the use of adaptive morphing with the benefits of autistic ways of social interaction. So autistic folks tend to use less small talk and focus more on one or two subjects of extreme interest. This kind of highly specific knowledge and willingness to get down to business can be a boon in certain industries and should not be overlooked. The challenge comes to teaching code switching based on the environment. No matter what kind of social skills your child currently displays, there are tools that you and your clinical team can teach to support your child in all types of situations. You might even make a game of trying to describe how others are acting. What's their posture? What's their mood look like? What's their voice volume? To help your child observe more closely. You could do this with photos, with clips from a favorite TV show, or in everyday situations for more practice. And I'd also strongly recommend finding a group of other people who share a common interest with your child in order to hone those social skills in an arena where your child can feel like an expert and meet autistic and neurotypical friends. And then you also get to meet extra parents, which is nice.
Don't forget to subscribe for more fun. Bye-bye, superstars.